Hey guys, Joe Madden here. This is the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. It is Thursday, September 1st. I am joined today by former NFL wide receiver Mike Pritchard. Mike, welcome to the show.
Joe, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here today. This is going to be a lot of fun, you guys. We're going to talk some college football, some NFL as well. Mike, I want to hear about your career. High school football star.
All right.
And then you went to the University of Colorado to play football, drafted into the NFL by the Atlanta Falcons. Can you believe when you hear that? That's exactly how your life went down, because it's an absolute dream for people.
You know what, Joe? It is surreal. I mean, I'm advanced age right now, so I mean, I can always look back, and you bring it up this way too, is always fond memories for me. But I never dreamed of going to the National Football League. It kind of just happened. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get a degree. I wanted to become an economist, right? I wanted to work on Wall Street. That was my dream, certainly coming out of high school and certainly going into college. But we won a national championship. I was the MVP of that football team. And then everything took off from a professional level with the National Football League for me. So I had an excellent combine and some pro days. And lo and behold, I was the 13th overall pick in the first round at the 1991 draft. So I had a great career. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Very, very fast lifestyle, if you will, but it's something that changed my life, obviously, for the best.
Where did the football passion, the love, the talent come from? Were you always passionate about football, or did you play multiple sports growing up?
You know, I played baseball and football. I didn't play basketball. My brother is 7 years older than me, and so he was my inspiration, if you will, Joe, because I watched that guy play football, and I wanted to be just like him. I can remember being 7 years old and wanting to play with his buddies in the park. And so in the park there, you're thinking about these 14-year-old teenagers. And here I am, a little kid at 7 years old, but I wanted to mix it up with them. So I kept bugging and nagging my big brother. And finally, he let me go out there and play. And I showed him something, because I showed him how fast I was, and I was very elusive, and they couldn't touch me. So now all of a sudden, my big brother and his friends wanted to protect me. But that gave me confidence to where I could compete on any level. I played baseball because my dad loves baseball. I just remember playing and throwing the ball, pitching to him in the park, and just having that kind of fun. But it never really manifested to anything. Once I got to high school, it was all about track and football.
Absolutely. And you were a high school football star. You've always had people rooting you on, cheering for you. Who is your biggest support system?
Oh, that's a great question. I want to say it had to be my parents. My mom passed away 13 years ago, and so things. But she was an inspiration because she was a track star.
Nice.
And then on top of that, my dad, my dad, in the stories he would tell me, he always got hurt. He was like that athlete you see in a movie that you root for, but he always got hurt, right? And he got hurt badly. So he never, I guess he lived out his athletic dreams through me. But no, they were my biggest support system, my biggest inspiration as well. So everything I accomplished, I owe them a great deal. And, you know, certainly my dad and I, we have a great relationship, and we kind of relive some of the fond memories that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine the stories that you could sit around and tell, especially the stories your dad could tell about you, watching you, especially with how proud he must be of your career and how well you've done. I have to ask, why the University of Colorado?
Oh, that's a great question too, because you know what? My first recruiting letter I received. So you get all these letters from all the schools around the country, and I was doing that as an All-American. And so the first letter I received from Colorado University, or CU, and I tossed it to the side because I'm looking at letters from SC. I'm looking at letters from Illinois, Pitt, Washington, you know, Alabama, Nebraska, OU, and all these bigger schools that I'm familiar with. And I wasn't too familiar with Colorado, but once I took my recruiting trip to the University of Colorado in Boulder, Colorado, I fell in love. I mean, it was incredible. I loved the school. I loved the location. I loved the fact that Coach Mack, Bill McCartney, was building a foundation that ultimately led to us winning the national championship. And I wanted to be a part of it. So I look at it this way, Joe. I wanted to be a difference maker. I always want to do that. And by going to the University of Colorado as opposed to one of those other schools that had a notable football program and a notable success level at the time, I wanted to establish that at University of Colorado with some brothers of mine that I bonded with, and that's Eric Bieniemy and Alfred Williams and some legendary football players. So I was fortunate. It was the best decision of my life, though.
I absolutely love that. That is a great story. Do you think you would be where you are with what you did in your career if you went somewhere else and not the University of Colorado then?
I don't know. I mean, that is hard to think about, really,
Yeah.
because the opportunities. I think as I play them back in my head, and playing as a freshman, not redshirting, getting that experience, and then having the confidence to grow with everybody who I surrounded myself with all the great athletes and the great coaches. I don't think I could have. I don't think my career path would have been the same way. Obviously, I probably not a first rounder. It's hard to say.
It's so
I
hard to say.
probably,
You never
I
know,
know,
right?
I probably would be an economist on Wall Street, right?
That
But
would be crazy to think. We would have missed out on watching you play so many
yeah,
phenomenal games.
all right.
Okay, last question before we talk some college football for week 1 and some NFL. I have to know, what was it like that night that you got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh, wow. So back then the draft was in the morning. So now the draft is at night, prime time, right? And so it was early in the morning. I had just woken up. I woke up late. I think they were 4 picks into the draft. And I was in my PJs, still in my apartment in Boulder with my roommate. And the phone started ringing. And mind you, Joe, I didn't have call waiting. I couldn't afford it. So no cell phone, no call waiting. And here I am standing. It's like a movie. I'm standing in the middle of the living room with my PJs on, answering phone calls from GMs across the National Football League, right? And it
Wow.
was highly exciting, very exciting. My dad actually taped it, and we have it on VHS tape to relive that memory too of when they announced my name on ESPN and for the NFL draft. It was crazy.
That would have been crazy. Were both your parents there in your dorm room then?
Nope. I was alone in Boulder, and they were back
Okay.
in Vegas in the house. So yeah, like I said, I thought, and the projections at the time was for me to go in perhaps in the second round. So the surprise really for everybody and for myself was the fact that I was going to go in the first round. So that's exactly when my life changed for the better. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you hung up that phone. What'd you do first? Happy
uh,
dance? Call your parents? What
you know,
happened?
I couldn't call anybody because my phone, no call waiting, and everybody was
Yeah,
trying to call me. You could imagine once my name was announced on ESPN, what
absolutely.
had happened from a media standpoint, from my parents trying to call me, friends, and everybody. I had to get to the airport. Luckily, my roommate had a car because I had an hour to get from Boulder to Denver airport. It was in Stapleton at the time, not DIA where it is located now. And so we had a good hour. I had to shower. I had to put on a suit. I had to get on a plane to Atlanta in an hour. So you could imagine what that was like. I think we broke some speeding laws on the way there, but luckily we didn't get pulled over.
I can imagine. I can imagine how overwhelmed you must have been going in
Yeah.
that first round. Congratulations on all
Thank
your
you.
success in your career. Now working with VSiN as a host. You are doing a phenomenal job over there.
Thanks.
Can you
Thank you.
tell
Thank you.
everyone where to find your shows on VSiN?
Yeah, absolutely. VSiN.com. You can live stream us there. We're on selective markets on television, but certainly iHeart radio app. You can listen to us there. But the best way to be entertained by VSiN and certainly listen to us is VSiN.com. You can become a subscriber as well. VSiN.com/subscriber. You get everything, including our college football and pro football betting guides, which are spectacular, Joe. It's one of those resources that I would put up against anybody out there in terms of information that you can use to help you cash some tickets. And certainly at VSiN, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get my hands on the college football betting guide. I am maybe 85% through it. It's 330 pages,
I
Mike.
know.
It's a
It's
lot of
jam-packed.
information.
Yes, it
That's
is.
such
Yeah,
good
yeah.
information.
Absolutely. It gives you some angles and different scenarios to think about for me. And as a former player, I don't know everything. Certainly when it comes to betting, so I lean on our experts. I lean on people that are really good with the numbers in terms of analytics and data and what they use to help them find some discrepancies in lines and certainly some advantages too. And so that's what I'm looking forward to the most in terms of finding those betting angles that I can exploit and use. And certainly we do that here at VSiN.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And you guys are crushing it in this industry. Mike, let's talk some college football week 1. We did see week 0 last Saturday.
Right.
Any takeaways from week 0? Any teams that you were really shocked by?
Not shocked. I mean, I think obviously Nebraska was overrated a little bit there,
So badly.
or was
Yep.
Northwestern underrated, right? I mean,
Yep.
I think what people need to keep in mind when betting college football is that it's such a great unknown. But what is known is how long these teams work on that first opponent. Like Northwestern, I mean, they had revenge written all over the place, I'm sure. I mean, you can imagine what their locker room was like, Joe, in terms of just that first game on that stage against Nebraska, a conference game, too. So they got up for that one in the right
Yep.
way. Obviously, Nebraska had a lot of transfers, too. So my biggest takeaway, I think, like how quickly and how soon can teams develop continuity because of transfers? Like USC's got a ton of transfers.
Yeah.
But I think they're having an advantage because Lincoln Riley knows Caleb Williams, his quarterback, and he calls plays for him. So there's a continuity aspect, even though there's a lot of transfers coming into that program. So I think in early stages of college football, I think bettors need to look out for that.
Absolutely. What do you think of some of these teams that have lost so many of their players to the NFL or that have just are now out of college? What do you think of those teams going forward into this season? Are you concerned about them at all?
Well, you're not concerned about Alabama or Ohio State or, I mean, Clemson, a little bit of concern there because of the quarterback DJ and see if he can emerge as a top flight guy. Schools like that, schools that can reload, schools that if you look at recruiting rankings, if you look at the data that way, they just stockpile. They just have athlete after athlete coming into their system. And if they can retain those guys, even with NIL and certainly the transfer portal, they're ahead of the pack. And so NC State, for instance, out there in the ACC, they return a ton of starters.
Mm-hmm.
They also have continuity with the quarterback, and they played well last year. So all that's missing in my mind for them winning the ACC title is the mindset. So if the mindset emerges early on, then I think they can give Clemson a run for their money in that conference.
Yeah, I think this is a pivotal year for Clemson. They have to come out stronger than we saw last season for sure and make a statement. Mm-hmm. Mike, week 1, kicking off tonight. You've got anything for us? Any teams that you're really liking here to come out strong?
No, not tonight. Because I want to see what happens. A little bit more. Yep. I do have one game, Joe, that I'll give out here. Is I like Oregon, Georgia. I like Oregon first half. I got it at +10.
Okay.
Just because of Lanning, the former defense coordinator, he's going to know the personnel and he's going to know what Georgia's going to want to do. I think Georgia's in their backyard. It's in Atlanta, but yet. They won a national championship. They lost a lot of guys, a ton of guys to the National Football League. They're going to have to replace them, which they will. Like I said, they're one of those type of schools. But now Stetson Bennett has pressure on him. Like last year, I don't think he had this type of pressure. Like if we win a national championship, that's great. We should, but it's not going to be your fault. I mean, I thought we saw a little bit of that in that championship game, but he was okay. But now he's got to perform at an even higher level, and I don't think he can. Eventually, Georgia will be better than Oregon throughout the whole game. That's why I settled on the first half in a +10 situation.
Okay, great way to take that one. Let's turn to the NFL really quick. Is there any team that we should be concentrating on this year that you think is going to do better, maybe for their win totals or just overall this season than they did last?
Wow, Carolina was one of those teams, I think, but they're juiced up now. I think it's -175 to they're over, Joe, and that's expensive. I think
the quarterback situation there.
Well, it's crazy because Baker, he's he's a hot or cold guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he either warms you up or he turns you off, and so I think that's what happened to him in Cleveland. Like, he lost the locker room. He wasn't that leader, and it was all about him as opposed to doing what's best for the team. And so he fell out of favor. They turned him off. He ran so cold up there. So, but now he gets into a new location and he's running hot. And they're trying to adapt everything to Baker and what he likes and what makes him comfortable out there. So, he's a talented player. He was the number one overall pick at quarterback. So, if that franchise is feeling that confident, and I feel like they have some good pieces, Christian McCaffrey, they can surprise people with that win total. But it's just juice minus 175 is kind of expensive right now.
What would your hopes be if we see something out of Sam Darnold on the field? Do you think that he's going to get an opportunity to start before Baker Mayfield this season?
Probably not. I mean, Sam Darnold, he's got the ankle injury that happened in preseason, and the same draft too. I thought he was such a young player when he got drafted, barely 21 years old, and so he just never settled up there in New York. He's in Carolina. They got off to a hot start last year, 3-0, and now they've replaced him with Baker. So the journey is just that much more challenging right now for Sam Darnold at quarterback. And I think it's a long road, but I think he'll have a career. At some point he'll get another opportunity, but I don't know when that's going to be. But certainly as a backup, a quality backup in the National Football League, that's probably in the cards for Sam Darnold.
Now, Mike, you did play for a couple teams. You played for the Broncos as well, and the Seattle Seahawks. Are the Falcons your team, or where do you put allegiance to?
Oh, that's a great question, Joe. Yeah, all three of them are really, because I'm a part of events and alumni organizations with all three teams, and I'm proud of that, to be honest with you. Like, Denver is incredible with the community. I went to school there, so we can tie in my allegiance to Boulder and certainly the whole community. I have a place there. I mean, I love Colorado. It's my second home. And then Vegas is central located for me, and then Seattle. We have so many alumni events as well, and so there's just great memories in all three places. All right, and so I claim all three. Absolutely. Actually, I'm the only guy on VSiN, our network, that can claim this, and I can play a former team 3-leg teaser. So think about that. I can play a teaser situation with Atlanta or parlay with Atlanta, Denver, and Seattle. And so that's I was 3-1 last year with that play. So
wow.
I'm looking for some situations this year as well.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I wish you all the best for this football betting season. Enjoy the season. Have a lot of fun. And thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Joe. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Can you just remind everyone where they can follow you before you head off here?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at @Pritchard. I'm there. I need to get an Instagram presence. I know that, but certainly VSiN.com/subscribe. You can get every information and a lot of information that we do all the way through the Super Bowl. We got a discounted price too, which is incredible for all the resources you receive there. But I'm going to be on various shows as an NFL lead analyst. So just tune in to VSiN and you can catch me each and every day on the network.
Can't wait to catch your shows, Mike. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate you.